He sat alone at the far end of Dock 17 on Varnak Station. Thousands of beings passed through every hour, aliens with wings, glowing eyes, even creatures that moved like shadows. But none of them noticed him. He didn't talk. He didn't ask. For help? He didn't even look at anyone directly, just sat with a small black bag, always resting beside him. His eyes watching the vast windows that looked out into space. His name, at least what was recorded, was Elias Vorn, human male. No known rank, no job, no family listed, no criminal record. But also, no history. Security scans showed nothing dangerous. No weapons, no implants, no signals, just a human. Quiet, normal, forgettable. So they ignored him until the day a cruiser vanished. It was a Class 5 patrol ship, Zerachtel. Assigned to watch a border sector close to the Black Zone, an area so strange and quiet that most fleets hated going near it. Still, the Zerachtel was advanced, powerful, and manned by over 200 trained soldiers. That morning, the ship left the station as normal. Logs showed clean departure. Systems green. 3 hours later, the ship was gone. No distress signal, no damage, no wreckage, no trace. Only one strange detail showed up in the logs, a camera feed near Dock 17. Just minutes before the cruiser left, Elias Vorn was there, standing by the window. He was looking at the cruiser as it departed. He didn't move, didn't blink, and as the ship faded into the stars, he whispered something too soft to hear. But his lips clearly moved. Then he sat back down. The first one to notice was Lieutenant Karin Tal, a security officer who had passed Elias dozens of times. "He's always just sitting there," she said to her partner. "Like he's waiting for something." Her partner laughed. "He's human. They're all weird." But Karen couldn't shake the feeling. Something about him felt off. She had worked security for 11 years. She had faced smugglers, mind screamers, even a void serpent once. But this man, this quiet human, made her nervous in a way none of them did. She pulled his file. It was empty. Too empty. No travel records. No birthplace. No school. No job. No taxes. No relatives. Just a name and a docking pass. That same night, she ran a deep scan across station logs. In the last 2 weeks, Elias had been seen near 3 other ships that later reported system failures, navigation errors, and in one case, a missing shuttle. All random? Maybe, but then the cruiser disappeared. Now she wasn't so sure. The next morning, High Command was informed. Admiral Thoric, a grizzled four-armed war veteran of the Tsaran Republic, reviewed the data. His reaction was simple, ridiculous. 1. Human can't just make ships vanish. We've fought wars for centuries. If they had someone like this, we'd know. Sir Kareen insisted. His records are fake. They have to be. No one just appears on a station without eye. Said, "Drop it," Thoric growled. "You want to spook the whole sector over a human sitting on a bench?" He dismissed her, and Elias remained undisturbed for now. 3 days later, the research station went dark. It was in orbit around a gas giant, collecting samples. 50 scientists, fully armed guards, state-of-the-art shields. Its last message was routine. Sample scan complete. Returning data, and silence. When a scout ship arrived, it found the station, intact. Power still running, lights on, doors open. But inside, nothing. No bodies, no signs of attack, no damage. It's gone. Everything was clean. Perfectly. In place, coffee mugs, still full. Beds still made. Equipment still active. But not a single person. Like they had simply vanished. The scout team sent a silent alert back to Varnak Station. The message reached Corinne first. Her hands trembled. She opened the station logs again. Dock 17. There he was. Elias Vord. That same day, same hour, sitting in the exact same position. And once again, he whispered something. This time, Corinne didn't wait. She sent a direct alert to internal surveillance and followed Elias through the lower corridors. He walked slowly, always alone, always in silence, He didn't stop for food, didn't use the restrooms, didn't even seem tired. When she finally approached him, she asked carefully, "Sir, can I see your ID?" He turned and looked at her. His eyes were too gray, like smoke swirling inside. He said nothing. Just stared. Then, without speaking, he handed her the ID chip. It worked perfectly. Nothing out of place, but her scanner glitched. Static covered the screen. Lights blinked. Then the screen went black. She looked back up. Elias was gone. He had turned the corner, quietly, slowly, but he was gone all the same. That night, Karen went to the upper levels of command. She requested access to the ancient archives as sealed. Library of forgotten threats and hidden history. She wasn't allowed in, so she broke in. Inside, old paper files and dusty data pads lined the shelves. Most were unreadable. But one thing caught her eye: a faded document titled Project Echo Gray, Human Archives, Class X. She opened it. Most of it was blacked out, words covered by red ink. But one sentence stood out. Subject 9 activated. Do not engage. Do not remember. She froze. Elias Vorn. Was Subject 9? And what did do not remember mean? She ran back to her quarters and pulled every known Earth file. She searched for Echo Gray, Subject 9, even Elias. But the name never came up, as if someone had erased it from everywhere, across. The stars, humans, were known as clever, adaptable, emotional, and sometimes dangerous. But nothing this strange. Nothing that made ships vanish. And yet in 2 weeks, a war cruiser vanished. A station went dark. Multiple system failures occurred. One man was seen before each event, and he always whispered. Just before the silence, the next day a special fleet arrived, 12 warships carrying high-level military officers. Their goal: investigate, and if needed, eliminate the threat. They didn't tell the public, didn't even tell the council. It was a quiet mission. They tracked Elias, surrounded him, cornered him near Dock 17, the commander ordered. Hands up. You were under arrest for suspected sabotage and mass disappearance. Elias slowly turned. He said one word, not loud, not angry, soft. Return. And then the fleet vanished. All systems shut down, every sensor feed blinked out, every warship dash gone. No. Weapons fired. No signal sent. Just silence. Only one thing was left. A single message on the fleet's command channel. Written in human code. 5 words. He's starting to remember. Back on Varnax station, Karen stood at the docking window, watching the stars. Elias was there again, sitting still, quiet. And now, everyone was afraid. No one dared go near him. Not anymore. But he just stared out into space, waiting, because something inside him had started waking up, and when it fully returned, no fleet would be enough. The stars above Varnax station shone as always bright, cold, and endless. But something had changed. People were whispering. Guards looked over their shoulders. Scientists double-checked door locks. Even the station commander walked faster through the halls. The reason was simple. 12 warships were gone. No trace, no wreckage, no escape pods. No final message. They had gone after one human, and they had never returned. The command room stayed silent for hours. Holograms flickered across the walls, showing empty sectors where the fleet had once flown. Commander Trelos, a tall insectoid with red armor plates, stood frozen. We... lost them? Asked the AI assistant. The AI responded with the same message each time. No contact. All channels dead. All beacons silent. Someone whispered, "It's him. It's the human." But no one answered. No one wanted to believe it. Still, everyone knew. The quiet man from Dock 17 hadn't moved since the incident. He still sat there, legs crossed, bag beside him, staring into the void. He didn't speak. He didn't run. He didn't hide. And no one dared approach him now. That night, something worse happened. A deep space research station, 400 light-years away, went silent. It was called Althor 6, a secret science lab orbiting a dead star. It held top researchers' dangerous samples and experimental tech never shown to the public. Last report, energy reading spiking in Sector X, initiating scan. Then nothing. The response team arrived 6 hours later. The station looked normal from outside, lights still on, its gravity working, heat levels stable, but inside, it was empty. No bodies, no signs of struggle. All systems running smoothly, but no. People coffee cups still warm, screens still blinking. A game of cards halfway through. One chair even rocked gently like someone had just stood up. The rescue team searched every floor. No blood, no fingerprints. Not even a DNA trace, just silence. And one strange detail. On the main control panel, someone had written a message. Not typed. Carved into the surface. 5 letters, Elias back on Varnak Station. Kurintal watched the footage. She felt sick. Althor 6 was a top-level station. Protected by auto drones, guarded by elite security, monitored by deep code sensors. Nothing could just sneak in. Not without being noticed, and yet was empty. She pulled up Doc 17's camera logs from the same hour Althor 6 went dark. Elias was there, still sitting, still silent, but this time, he stood up. He walked to the window, pressed one hand against the glass, and his mouth moved. Another whisper. She zoomed in, slowed the footage. One word. Althor. Then he sat back down. Minutes later, the station vanished. The next morning, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. Over 200 alien species, gathered in one vast chamber, shouted and argued. This is a human weapon. No, he's a rogue experiment. Earth must answer for this. Maybe it's not human at all. We need to eliminate him. But Earth's ambassador, a calm woman named Dr. Leon Cortez, stood quietly. She didn't speak until the room fell silent. Then she said, "We warned you. Years ago." AU laughed. The council demanded answers. Who is Elias Vorn? Why is he doing this? Is Earth behind him? Dr. Cortez gave none. She simply said, containment is impossible now. He is remembering. Meanwhile, Karine was no longer a simple security officer. She had taken it upon herself to study Elias, to follow him, to understand. And finally, she got her chance. Elias moved, for the first time in days. He left Doc 17. She followed at a distance. He walked slowly, like someone lost in memory. He didn't look around, didn't speak. But every corridor he passed through began to flicker, lights dimming, screens flashing, air humming strangely. He entered Archive Room 9, a place so old that most officers didn't know it existed. Karen waited outside. 30 minutes passed, then he walked out. As he passed her, he looked at her for the first time. His eyes were not normal, not entirely gray anymore, but full of patterns, like stars shifting inside them. He leaned slightly toward her, and for the first time he spoke. A soft whisper, "You shouldn't follow me." Then he was gone. Karen entered the archive room. The lights were off. The air was cold, and in the center of the room, carved into the floor, was a symbol she didn't recognize. She scanned it. The scanner failed. No record in any known database, but one line appeared on her pad, auto-generated by unknown code. The silence has awakened. She didn't understand it, but deep down, she felt it. Something terrible was returning, and he was the key. Later that day, a data probe near the Galactic Core sent a last transmission, a brief recording. It showed Elias Vorn standing alone in the void of space. No suit. Just standing on nothing, staring, and then ... smiling. The probe shut down, the feed ended, and panic began. The Council declared Elias a universal threat. Earth refused to cooperate. They sent ships. Anyway, another fleet. Larger this time, over 100 vessels. But before they even reached Elias ... all systems failed. Not destroyed, just ... Powered down, every ship floated helplessly in space. A message appeared on every screen at the same time. No voice, no sound, just one sentence. You tried to erase me. All ships returned to base. Empty, no crew, no captains, no trace of what happened inside. Just the ship silent. It's untouched, like Altar-6, like the Zirac-Tel, like everything else Elias touched. Back on Varnak Station, he sat once again, at Dock 17, alone, silent, but now. Silence screamed louder than any weapon, and Karen knew this wasn't just a man anymore. This was a message, and soon, everyone would hear it. Elias Vorn had not moved in 2 days. He sat quietly at Dock 17, his hands folded, his black bag untouched, his eyes staring into the stars. Everyone avoided the corridor now. Even the bravest officers found excuses to patrol other sectors. No one wanted to pass the quiet man. No one wanted to feel that strange pressure in the air near him. It was like standing near a storm, but one that hadn't started yet, and still, they sent another fleet. This one was different. Not just warships, this was the Paladrix Armada, a coalition fleet made of 20 different species. Heavy dreadnoughts, shield carriers, EMP lances, anti-psychic barriers. Everything designed for one purpose: contain the unknown human. They didn't come close to Varnak Station. They waited in high orbit silent, watching, waiting for orders. From a distance, they looked like a wall of metal and power. Admiral Trevorn, a machine being of pure logic, led the fleet. His voice echoed across the comms. This is not a man. This is a breach. We're the SEAL. On the station, Karen Tal watched the screens from her private quarters. She saw the fleet arrive. She saw the numbers, the firepower, the precision. But deep inside her, she already knew the outcome. This won't work, she whispered. The AI assistant responded coldly. The odds of success are 92.7%. She laughed bitterly. What they said about the first fleet? Then her monitor flickered, and a message appeared, one she hadn't typed, one the system couldn't block. Just 3 words: they followed me. Her heart froze. She ran to Dock 17. He was gone, Elias. Vorn now stood in a small shuttle bay. No guards, no alarms. He hadn't forced any doors. He simply walked there. All systems recognized him as if he belonged. He stood calmly beside a forgotten transport shuttle. Its engine hadn't worked in years. It was rusted, slow, and used only for junk hauling. Elias touched it once. The ship hummed to life, not just functioning, but glowing with strange energy. One worker saw it happen. He dropped his tools and ran, screaming. He speaks to the metal. He's waking them up. The transport rose from the floor, and Elias vanished inside, up in orbit. The Paladrix Armada prepared for engagement. Target has launched, Admiral, Trevorn announced. Prepare intercept. 1,000 guns aimed at the small transport shuttle, but before they could fire, something unexpected happened. The fleet turned. Their own ships, one by one, began to shift. Engines reversed. Guns lowered, shields shut down. Confused officers shouted across channels, "We're not doing this. Something's taking control." Admiral Trevorn screamed, "Override protocols now!" But it was too late. Every ship in the Armada sent the same signal at once, a message. Not from the fleet, not from any crew, but from inside the systems. We followed him, and now we remember. Then the entire fleet fired on nothing straight into deep space. Blast after blast lit up the void. But no one knew what they were shooting at. The Admiral's final words before going silent: "There's something else." Behind him, inside him. It's not just him. And silence again. The fleet drifted, every ship untouched, but empty. On Varnak Station, alarms sounded everywhere. People rushed to the escape bays. Some just froze because across every screen on the station, a new symbol had appeared. Not a language, not a word, a shape, a swirling spiral, drawn in perfect black lines. Anyone who looked at it felt dizzy, like their mind wanted to run away. And then the voice came, not loud, not angry, just there, a whisper across every speaker, every hallway. You chased the man, but you forgot what followed. Karen Tal dropped to her knees. Her mind flashed with images: an old ruin on a dead moon, a forgotten gate, a child with gray eyes. Sitting in a dark room full of broken machines, a message buried deep in Earth's past. If he wakes, don't follow. If you follow, you bring it with you. She finally understood. Elias Vorn wasn't just a human. He wasn't the weapon. He was the key. The fleets didn't vanish. They were taken by something older than war, quieter than death, and tied to him. And now it had followed them back in deep space, where the transport shuttle floated near the empty Paladrix Armada. A new structure appeared. Not built, not summoned, just revealed a massive black shape. Larger than any planet, no light touched it. Scans could see it, but everyone knew it was there. The Echo Core had arrived, and Elias Vorn stood at its edge, whispering into the dark, calling something or answering. Back on Varnock Station. Chaos grew. People begged for transport off Dash World. Others simply cried in corners, mumbling about whispers and dreams. Only Corinne stayed calm, because now she understood. He never wanted to hurt anyone. He didn't attack the fleets. He didn't destroy the stations, he only remembered. And when he did, so did everything else. The stars weren't stars anymore, at least. It's not to the ones watching from Varnock Station. Some of them had changed. No one knew when it started, but now they were moving. Slowly, quietly, rearranging in ways that no natural object should. Astronomers called it impossible, but it was happening, and the pattern they were forming looked like a door. Corintal had stopped reporting to her commanding officers. She no longer trusted them. After the second fleet vanished, the message appeared across every ship. Every screen she had realized something important. No one was in control anymore. Elias Vorn wasn't the threat. He was the warning. And they ignored him. Now, whatever followed him had begun to change space itself. The transport ship Elias had entered still floated near the Echo Core. No one could scan it. No one could reach it. Every attempt to approach the area ended the same way. Communications failed. Engines shut down. And memory logs were corrupted. But then something strange happened. Elias came back. He returned to Varnock Station, walked through the docking bay, like nothing had happened. No one stopped him. No one even tried. He sat in the exact same place, Stock 17, same quiet posture, same distant stare. But now, everyone knew better. The council called it the Gate Formation. That's what the stars were becoming. A structure spanning thousands of light years, shaped like a frame. Made of energy and gravitational lensing, no ship could explain it. No AI could map it. And yet, everyone could feel it. Something was opening. Something was coming through. Or maybe something was waiting for him to step in. At the station, Corinne finally approached Elias again. He didn't move, didn't blink. But this time, when she stood near him, she felt a pull, like gravity but in her mind. Her memories twisted, her thoughts slowed. And then he spoke. "You've seen it now," Elias said. His voice was soft, tired. Karen nodded. "The gate." He nodded once. "They built it long before we understood light. They made it to hide what couldn't be destroyed." "Who?" she asked. Elias looked at her, and for the first time she saw pain in his eyes. "Humans," he said. "Before we were even human." The revelation shattered her. Earth's oldest ruins were only a few thousand years old. How could Elias be talking about something before human history? He answered before she asked. "They erased it from your minds, from the world, even from time." He touched the floor beside him. A wave of gray light spread outward, slow and smooth. Images flickered in the air-ruined cities, broken stars, dying galaxies, And at the center of it all, a shape. Dark, moving, always watching. They called it the Whispering End. Elias said, "It doesn't destroy. It makes you forget yourself, piece by piece, until nothing remains." Karen trembled. "And it's behind the gate?" she asked. "No," Elias whispered. "It's the gate." In a distant corner of the galaxy, a research team discovered something horrible. An ancient planet, long dead, cracked in half. At its core, they found ruins with Earth's language on the walls. Thousands of years old, maybe more. One word repeated, again and again. Remember, before they could transmit the full report. The entire planet was swallowed by shadow. The last message came in the form of a scream and then a whisper. He's not unlocking it. He's keeping it shut. Now, the truth began to spread across military stations, civilian networks, black market, AI hubs. Everyone was talking about Elias. Fournay, some called him a god. Others called him a weapon. But Ifuthos, who studied deep time, Ecos called him something else. The last warden, Karri, and met him again. This time, she brought a weapon, not to hurt him, to protect him. Because now, others were trying to kill Elias, to stop the gate, to end the fear, but they didn't understand. If Elias died, the gate would open, not slowly, not with stars shifting, but all at once. And the galaxy wouldn't even remember what it lost. Only the silence, only the void, only the whispering end. Elias looked at her and said, "The final fleet is coming." "Whose?" Karen asked. He stood up, and this time the entire station shook. Systems crashed. Lights exploded. Air thrummed with invisible sound. Outside, stars bent. Dozens of ancient ships appeared made of stone, crystal, and things that didn't belong in this universe. Ships from lost species, forgotten wars, buried empires, the remembered fleet. "They're not here to fight me," Elias said. "They're here to help me keep it closed." He looked up at the gate behind the stars and whispered one more time. They called it a myth, a lie passed down by mad prophets and deep space monks. But now it hovered outside Varnak Station real. It's terrifying and beautiful. The remembered fleet, old ships too old, their metal was covered in cracks. Their hulls etched with names of species that no longer existed. Some ships were made from living crystal, others from asteroid bones. A few didn't seem to be made of matter at all, just shapes wrapped in light. And yet, every one of them powered up when Elias Vorn stood. He didn't give orders, he didn't raise his hand, but the fleet moved with him, like they had been waiting for his signal. For centuries. Inside Varnak Station, panic spread again. People who had once feared Elias now ran toward him, begging for safety. Others tried to flee the station, desperate to get far from the gate. But it was too late. The gate. Behind the stars had opened halfway, and now the station floated in the shadow of something far bigger than anyone could. Understand ships sent to investigate the gate never returned. Some disappeared. Others came back, empty, their crews missing. Their memory logs wiped clean. One drone recorded 6 seconds of footage. Before it vanished, a vast dark figure made of shadow and whispers floating behind the gate. It had no eyes, but somehow it was watching. Karen Tal stood beside Elias as the old fleet aligned in orbit. "How many?" she asked, her voice shaking. 391, Elias replied. She frowned. "But there are only about 50 ships." He nodded once. "The rest haven't returned yet. Some are still remembering." "What happens when they all come back?" Elias looked at her, and for a moment something inside him flickered. Not fear, not anger, sorrow. Said double quotes, "Then we closed the gate." But not everyone wanted that. From a hidden moon near Sector V9, a new signal burst through the void. BROADCASTLOUD. Clear. Bold. "We do not fear the dark," the voice declared. "We welcome it." The message came from the cult of the Threshold, a secret faction that believed the Whispering End was not death, but freedom. They had built their own fleet, not as powerful, not as old, but fast, aggressive, hungry for chaos. And they were coming for Elias to stop him from sealing the gate, to let it open fully. On Varnak Station, alarms screamed. Sensors picked up dozens of inbound signals attack ships, moving fast. Karen grabbed her weapon. "They're here." Elias didn't move. He closed his eyes, and in space, the remembered fleet began to glow. Each ship pulsed once, then again, and then they vanished. No flashes, no warp signatures. They simply blinked out like they stepped out of existence. Seconds later, the attackers' coms went dead, then their ships froze in place, one by one. They shattered, not exploded, cracked like thin glass under a growing pressure. The few survivors broadcast one last message before going silent. "The old ones are awake. We were never meant to fight them." Back on the station, the lights flickered. Time warped. Doors opened before anyone reached them. Whispers filled the air, voices from every direction. Speaking languages no one knew, yet everyone understood. They said, "You remembered us. Now we protect you." Then the remembered fleet returned. But now, they weren't alone. A new ship appeared, far larger than the rest. It had no engines. No weapons. Just a circular design like a lock. Elias turned toward it, the core vessel. Karen stared at the glowing ring. "What does it do?" "Seals the gate," Elias replied. "If it opens all the way, we lose not just this galaxy. We lose the idea of galaxies." But there was a cost. The core vessel needed a source to power it, something beyond energy, something old, something that had been touched by the gate and survived. Elias stepped forward. "I was never meant to fight," he said. "Just to remember and to return." Karen grabbed his arm. "You're going in?" He looked at her with sad eyes. "It has to be someone who's seen it." Someone had almost claimed. She shook her head. "There must be another way." But Elias just smiled. "This is why I was born." Then he walked onto the core vessel, and the stars began to burn white. The gate trembled, the shadows behind it screamed. The whispering end tried to stop him, but the remembered fleet stood in the way, blocking every path, sacrificing themselves, one by one. Each ship that fell lit up with golden fire. A new word echoed through the void. "Remember?" Again, and again, and again, until the gate finally shook and stopped opening, but it didn't close, not yet, inside the core vessel. Elias faced the last choice. He could lock the gate forever, but he wouldn't survive. Or he could leave it partially open and let something through. He turned toward the light and walked forward, without a word, without fear. The screen went black, and the gate began to seal, not with sound, but with silence, the kind that only comes when the stars themselves are holding their breath. Everything stopped. The weapons, the warnings, the whispers. The gate behind the stars had sealed, or at least seemed sealed. And in that moment, the galaxy fell into silence. Not peace, not safety, just a strange, heavy quiet, like the universe itself was holding its breath. Elias Bourne was gone, and no one knew if he would ever return. Varnak Station drifted like a grave. No messages came in. No messages went out. The remembered fleet, once bright and alive, had turned into silent shadows. Their lights had gone out, their shapes frozen in orbit. They didn't vanish. They just stopped moving. Like statues in the dark, Karen Tal sat alone in Command Deck 4. The others had left. Some escaped. Others disappeared. A few whispered things no one understood, then walked into the vacuum of space without suits, smiling. She didn't sleep anymore, because when she closed her eyes, she heard him, not Elias, the other one. The voice that had watched through the gate. The one that was still whispering. A message arrived exactly 7 days after the gate closed. No sender, no source. It simply appeared across every active screen in the sector. 5 words. He held it. For now. That was all. No one knew what it meant, but some understood. The gate wasn't truly closed. It was only resisting what waited behind it, and Elias somehow was still there, standing between the galaxy and the thing that should not exist. Back on Earth, scientists studied the star maps. Something was wrong. A new dark spot had appeared near the center of the galaxy. It's not a black hole. It's not a system. Just missing space telescopes couldn't see through it. Probes couldn't return from it. They called it the wound. When they played back the last data logs of the core vessel, they heard something strange. A single tone, like a song, soft, almost human. But under it, a second sound, a low voice saying, "If I fall asleep, run." Karental tried to warn the others. She sent messages to Earth Command, to the outer colonies, even to the pirate dens in the Rim, but no one replied. No one trusted her anymore. They called her broken. They said the trauma had changed her. Maybe they were right, but at night, the station lights dimmed, when the stars flickered. She heard him, and she wasn't the only one. Miners in the Helix Belt reported dreams. Merchants on deep trade. Roots described a song in the static. Children in colonies far from. Varnock drew strange spirals on the walls, and when asked where they learned it, they only said, "He's keeping the door closed." But it's knocking. The silence was not safety. It was waiting. Something behind the gate hadn't stopped. It was simply watching. And as the galaxy returned to normal life, trade war, politics, and lies only a few still remembered. The old ships, the remembered fleet, the gate, the core vessel, and Elias IV. No grave, no body, no farewell. Just the memory of a quiet man who said almost nothing and still saved everything for now. But in a quiet sector far from any major system, a small child stood under the night sky and pointed upward. "Mom," she said, "the stars are singing." The mother looked, and for a second she heard it too. A soft hum, then a whisper. "Stay quiet, it listens." For a while, the galaxy believed things were fine. Trade routes reopened, governments stabilized, stations rebuilt. People talked less about the gate now, less about Elias Vorn. Some even called the whole event a mass hysteria. But something in the stars had changed, and no one could explain it. It started with navigators, deep space. Pilots who used star maps to chart safe paths. They reported anomalies. Routes that used to be safe suddenly led to nowhere. Stars had shifted. Not just their position, their shape. When compared to earlier data, some constellations were now different. Slightly twisted, bent. Like a drawing redrawn by an unsteady hand, astrophysicists said it was a mapping error. But the oldest star watchers, the ones who remembered Elias, knew better. They'd seen this before. Just once, right before the gate first opened. On Earth, a secret AI core flickered to life. It had been offline since the gate incident. Now, it woke with one message repeating across its screens. Alignment detected. Pattern repeating. The AI began to draw symbols. Not human, not alien. Just shapes. Simple but ancient. Karental saw the same shapes in her dreams. So did others. Pilots, soldiers, children, even prisoners. Locked away in isolation chambers. They all dreamed the same thing, a sky full of stars slowly twisting. Into a giant eye, watching, waiting, and whispering one word over and over. Return. Out near the edge of explored space, a small research vessel named Horizon Wake vanished. Its last transmission was garbled static, but one sentence was clear. The stars aren't stars. A week later, the vessel reappeared. No damage, no trace of the crew. But something was on board. A single cube, made of stone, humming with heat. And when the cube was scanned, it triggered every alert system in the sector. The pattern on its surface matched an impossible symbol, the exact design from the core vessel Elias had entered, the one built to seal the gate. Karental received a private signal from an unregistered relay. It was audio only, a man's voice, soft, calm, familiar. The stars are trying to remember what they were before the dark, but they're looking in the wrong place. It was Elias somehow. His voice had returned, but he didn't speak again. No one could trace the signal. No. One even believed her, but she knew. He was still there, still between whatever lived behind, the gate and the rest of the galaxy. Meanwhile, the stars kept shifting, slowly, almost invisibly, but across the sky. Ancient patterns began to return, shapes that matched carvings found in ruins on dead planets. Long before Earth had written history, the same patterns that warned of a force. That didn't kill. It rewrote, not just memories, but identity. It made you forget who you were, what you were, until you became part of it. A rogue cult, the last survivors of the Threshold, tried to reopen the gate again. They used stolen tech, sacrificed whole colonies, but when they activated their machine, it didn't open the gate. It opened something else, a hole in space, and through it, they saw their own fleet, burning a mirror version of themselves, dying again and again, trapped in time loops, screaming, and at the center of it all stood a dark figure, not Elias, something wearing his shape. It looked at them. The mirror ships exploded. Then the hole closed, and the cult ship went silent forever. Back on Varnock Station, now abandoned and drifting. One sensor beeped once, then again, then a third time. It was tracking something far beyond the edge of the galaxy. A shape moving in the void, coming closer, too large to measure, too far to stop. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't a fleet. It was a shadow across the stars themselves. And as it moved, the constellations twisted into a new word: open. The stars were no longer quiet. They pulsed. They moved. And across every system, no matter the species, no matter the language, people felt the same cold whisper in their minds. He can't hold it much longer. Elias Foran had been silent. For months, some said he was dead. Others believed he had become something else, emerged with the gate itself. But then, across the entire galaxy, a final message arrived. Not on any frequency, not through any network. It arrived in people's dreams, in ship logs that had been powered off, carved into the sides of asteroids, burned into desert sand. Just 3 words, from Elias: seal it now. At first, no one knew what it meant. The core vessel was gone. The remembered fleet was silent. And the last gate reading showed it was still shut, but under incredible pressure, like it was being pushed from the inside. Karen Tall was the only one who understood. Elias wasn't asking for help. He was giving them permission. He had held the line for as long as he could. But now, he was letting go. A team of ex-military engineers, rogue AI specialists, and old cult defectors worked in secret on a moon near dead space. They called their device the Last Lock. Its purpose: trigger a collapse in space-time across the gates. Coordinates: a permanent seal. One that would not only close the gate, but erase everything connected to it, even the memory of it. But it required something the galaxy had almost forgotten: the shape of Elias's voice, the last word he ever spoke. They searched every transmission. They broke ancient encryption. They even rebuilt fragments of the core vessel using memory echoes from the remembered fleet's silent ships. And finally, they found it. A single audio file, 4 seconds long, corrupted, blurry, almost silent, but with enough signal to run through the last lock's trigger. They played it once, just once, and across the galaxy. The time seemed to slow, not stop, not reverse, just hesitate, like reality itself paused to listen. And what did it hear? It's not a scream, not a warning, just one word: enough. The gate shattered, not with an explosion, but with silence. A silence so deep, so vast, that light itself bent away from it. The remembered fleet vanished. The strange constellations faded, and the wound at the center of the galaxy closed like a scar finally healing. For one brief second, the stars sighed. Then everything went quiet. Truly quiet, no. More whispers, no more dreams, just the stillness of space. Years passed. The name, Elias Forn, became a myth again. Then a legend, then a forgotten line in a history no one trusted. Karrin Tau. Grew old. She spent her final days on a small station orbiting Earth. Watching the sky, sometimes when no one was looking, she'd whisper to the stars, "He saved us." And sometimes the stars would blink once bright, fast, and gone. Like they were saying, "We remember." But far beyond the known galaxy, in a place where no maps existed, something waited. Not evil, not kind, just. It looked toward where. The gate had been dot, and then it turned away, because the one thing it feared had spoken, and that one word still echoed, faint and eternal, enough.